There you go. We are live. Whereabouts do you live, Grant?
In Blythe.
You,
Yeah, so
nice.
about 45 minutes from John's place.
So, do you have a guy that you shoot with Mammoth, like every time, like same team member?
Yeah, my future brother-in-law. We shot together last year and trained together throughout the year. So we're heading down in January to shoot the match again together.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Good. But he's never been out to any of the Rimfire.
He was out at the match at your place this summer. He just shot the one match.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd recognize him, but I do remember him saying hi before you just left, I believe.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right, there we go. I just had to get some work out of the way. Thanks for your patience. Had to get an estimate out, John. Got a big basement rental coming.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm booking out to March already, man. Oh, jeez.
Serious?
Yeah.
So what
it's a one man.
What's that?
One man show, man. My boss is a jerk.
You could just quit on him. Go somewhere else.
That's true. I start my own company. Yeah, that'll teach him. Evening, Dan. Awesome. Yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to this conversation, Grant. You're the eyes and ears of Canadians down in the excited states of America.
Yeah. Hopefully, I can provide some insight for folks if they want to go down and shoot there.
Yeah, because my thinking is like shooting up here is like it's a great theme park. It's Canada's Wonderland, but down there you're in Walt Disney, right? With the terrain and kind of the more years of experience that they've got running the matches, and they've got it down to a formula and tons of volunteers, tons of props, tons of sponsors. So I'm excited about the conversation just to see what life is like across the border.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Especially Rimfire. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, appreciate you taking the time to spend it with us this evening. So I think I need more light to get my plaid showing. You guys are just popping there. I'm not standing out enough. That's all right. Are you? Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, I was just gonna make a comment. It doesn't make you look any better, anyways. So.
That's what I like about you guys. You guys tell it like it is. Oh, there we go. All right, now it's official. Now we got our countdown clock going.
Yeah, I was just going through the old posts here. I was going to bring up that Course of Fire.
Oh, you have the Course of Fire?
Oh, yeah. Someone just posted pictures of it. I can't remember if it was the morning of or how that was.
The finale Course of Fire, John?
Yeah. No, you sent the one for.
I sent you the one for the regional. I've got the copy of this. If
you do, yeah.
Questions or yardages or anything like that.
Okay, good. Yeah. Do you remember what the total points possible?
200. Yeah, it was 100 shots each day.
Okay. Nice. That's what. See, John. Those guys make sure they add up to 100 to make life easy for them every day. We're somewhere around over 100 a day.
Yeah.
104, 102.
But the
bounces around.
The regional was not. That was only like 11 or 12 stages or something weird, right?
Yeah, I can't remember how many stages it was. It was.
No, we did full.
It was an odd number though.
Yeah.
No, like the PRS.
The PRS. Oh, the regional. Yeah. Sorry.
It was like a day.
We're just getting. All right.
Yeah,
we are
one day, but a long day.
We're just about to go live. Stand by, everybody. Let's see, which one? Let's do the oldie but a goodie. Hey, shooters. Welcome to the Rimfire Nation Podcast, episode 36. Today we have Grant Sparling, PRS and PRS Rimfire competitor from Ontario, coming on to talk to us about his recent experiences and not so recent experiences shooting the PRS Regional and PRS Rimfire Finales in US of A. Welcome, Grant. Thanks for taking the time out to spend the evening with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And we have John joining us from the Gingrich Shooting Complex. Awesome facility, John. Awesome facility. We're jealous. Before we dive into our main topic, let's take a look at what's new at Tesro. Let's see. There's a couple of things going on. Tesro has a Christmas ideas page for those who are looking for some ideas to give. So we've got Ballistol. For those who don't know, it's like the miracle lube used in Europe and to some extent out here. It's like the hops of Europe, I think. What else was there? CRKT knives. I'm a big fan. I actually like this. So this is the CRKT CEO liner lock. This is kind of a gentleman's knife. So this is the knife that you pull out in an office situation. No one would freak out, as opposed to one of those cold steel tactical knives. What else? Just arrived. What's new at Tesro also is there now stocking vendors of the Loophole Mark V line of optics. Take a look at those. We are currently running a Mark V HD with a PR2 reticle on the Voodoo wrought iron barrel that Voodoo Gunworks has graciously donated for our demo fleet. So take a look at that. I do love that PR2. It's the first reticle from Loophole that I actually fell in love with. So that's what I've been shooting all year and have had no regrets, aside from mental mismanagement at matches, but otherwise it's pretty good. What else on sale? I don't think there's anything new. Citron Shadow 2 Canadian Edition. That's a big deal. If you guys are into pistols, the Shadow 2 Canadian is $300 off, $350 off. Actually, it's more. It's $450 off. So that is a smoking hot deal. Take a look at the sale page that just arrived, and also those Christmas ideas for some ideas on what to get your significant other or yourself. Thanks to Tesro Canada for supporting the Rimfire Nation podcast. And without any further ado, welcome, Grant. So, Grant, how did you get into the shooting game? How long did you start? How did you get your start? And what brought you to this expensive sport?
Well, I shot for the first time in Texas, actually, which is pretty ironic considering that's the last match in the finale that I shot. But
nice.
Went to West Texas on March break years ago when I was in high school, and shot a shotgun, 22, handgun, variety of things, and was hooked ever since then. And
Nice.
was shooting casually off and on for quite a few years, and originally thought that shooting long range with a center fire was 200, 300 yards, and then eventually got into shooting further, and have a buddy with a farm property, so I was able to stretch out the distance a little bit, and got into center fire and was ready to start shooting PRS right when COVID started. And
oh no,
ranges were canceled and the bases were closed. So earlier this year, decided to put together a 22 since all the matches were still going on, and decided to jump in with both feet, and here we are now.
Nice. So what equipment were you planning to use for your center fire, and what did you end up using for your rimfire? Just so we get
so
that
center
out of the way.
fire started with a Remington 700 5R in 308, and that has eventually morphed into the rifle behind me, where the only thing remaining from that rifle is the action. It's been trued up and have an international barrel, 6 Creedmoor carbon barrel on there now.
Oh, nice.
HS Precision stock and upgraded everything along the way to what I need for that specific competition, a lightweight long range gun. And
Nice.
then for 22, I had learned from that experience, starting with the Remington 700 and basically spending as much as I would have if I had just bought a custom action, and decided to go with a Rimex International barrel again. I was really
Right.
happy with the centerfire barrels that I had from them, and decided to build it up from there, and have been really happy with the Rimex this season.
Nice. Are you running the 1-in-12 twist or the 1-in-16?
1-in-16. Yeah,
Okay.
based on what John said, sounds like the 1-in-12 is pretty awesome for some of those long range shots. But the 1-in-16 has done well for me this year.
Well, the 1-in-12 is like the 6 Creed of rimfire rifles. It's the new
Yes.
hotness. So that's awesome. And you're running Vortex Razor on both your rigs?
Yeah. So I have a Strike Eagle. Been really happy with that optic, especially at the price point. It's a great scope. But for the finale in Texas, decided to put the Razor Gen 2 on there off my centerfire rifle, and just a little bit of a step up in terms of clarity and spotting trace and grass movement, downrange, that kind of thing.
So did you notice a difference? Did it make a difference for you?
Yeah, mostly with trace,
Okay.
especially in less than ideal lighting conditions. I was able to pick up a bit more on trace, see a bit more bullet splash on target, and make some corrections a little bit easier with the better glass.
Right. Are you currently sponsored by anybody right now?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, we'll try and fix that over the winter. I know some guys.
Sounds good.
That's good. Yeah, we'll make it happen for sure. That's awesome. So when did you shoot your first? I'm just trying to get the timeline of when you got into rimfire to where you are now, and then we'll talk about exactly where that is, which is pretty high up in the rimfire shooting world. So, congratulations for that.
Thanks. Yeah, I shot my first match was an ORPS match at Warren Field, one of Chris's matches. So shot the back-to-back ORPS matches there, and then 3 Northern Rimfire Series matches, a couple other ORPS matches in Guelph over the summer, and then fortunately was able to join the Eastern Finale a couple of months, or I guess a month and a half ago, with you folks, and then down to Pennsylvania and on to Texas. So in total, about six and a half months of shooting this year.
Nice. Well, you did really well. You really compressed it, which is awesome.
Thanks.
And then, so where was so in order to shoot the PRS Rimfire Finale, you had to shoot the regional, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So minimum of three matches during the season, and then qualify for the regional. And based on what Adam had said, it sounded like most of the guys would have qualified if the border had been open and there were the opportunity to get down there. And then from the Northeast regional, it's the top 30 from that match that qualify to go on to the national finale. Okay.
And at what point when you started shooting rimfire, did you have an inkling that you could actually be good at this?
Well, my first match went surprisingly well. I didn't have very high expectations for the first match. There were a lot of great shooters there, and was absolutely shocked when I came in second at the first ORPS match, and thought that there might be something to this, and it just improved from there.
That's awesome. And then, so by shooting the Northern Rimfire Series, that qualified you to shoot the regionals in Pennsylvania, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's part of the PRS series, and as far as I know, it's the only Canadian regional series that feeds into the broader PRS series.
Right. And then and the regional, is that a 1-day or a 2-day match?
It was a 1-day match. So that was at MKM Precision, fantastic facility in Pennsylvania. Lots of great props, some really big props like dump trucks and school buses and that kind of thing.
Nice.
So really fun to shoot at that facility. And the range was set up with 2 ranges on a 90-degree angle. So the first set of stages was shot into the wind, kind of a fishtailing wind. And then the second set of stages was shot with a full value wind from left to right. So interesting challenges there in that course of fire, and just great to be able to go down there and experience some different terrain and different wind and some really interesting props.
Nice. And how many shooters did they have at that regional?
I think there were about 80.
Wow.
80 in that match. Yeah, most of the people that had qualified from the other regional matches in the area, and then a couple of MKM member shooters that were there to go out and see how the day went.
Nice. So that was been like, I don't know, 10 squads or 11 squads of shooters just cycling through.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And that match was the first match that I had shot where the squad were tiered based off of standings as well. So going into that match, I was shooting with other people that were ranked similarly to me, and then that carried on to the national finale in Texas as well. So I was ranked 13th going into the finale. So I was in the second squad. It was 12 shooters squad for that match. So it was interesting to be stacked up with folks similarly ranked.
Nice. That's a great idea.
How did you enjoy that? So then day 2 you would have switched into.
It stayed the same. It didn't.
Okay,
so it didn't going into day 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but Chris Simmons, who ended up winning the match, he was in my squad as well. So in day 2, I was able to compare myself against him and see how we were stacked up then.
Oh yeah.
So initial impressions, if you contrasting, you've shot NRS, you've shot some of the CRPS matches and our finales. What is there something that stands out as this is different? Was there something like that kind of jumped out at you immediately when you got down there?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference was the target size. Typical target size at the 2 matches in Pennsylvania and Texas was definitely smaller than what we see here. The distances were also shorter. Like some of the NRS matches here, we could shoot out to 400 yards. At the finale in Texas, the max distance was 300, but the targets were typically quite a bit smaller. And there were a lot of troop lines, lots of big arcs of fire. So you could be shooting, holding left on one side and then switch over in the next part of the same stage and have a wind coming from the complete opposite direction. So just some more broad arcs of fire and some different challenges that way.
Right. Was there a lot of positional changes? Or is it's the good mix of high target, low position, or high position, low target?
Pretty good mix. There were the kind of the standard PRS barricade type drills, tires. I don't think there were any that were one shot in each position, like 10 different positions that you had to build. But there was some decent movement and standing off of a barricade down to prone, back up to standing, back down to prone. So a good mix of all the different kind of positions.
And then what's the stage times like? Is that 90 seconds?
It was 2 minutes actually.
Oh, 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. I was surprised that it would be 2 minutes. But given some of the transitions and some of the wins, I think the time was accurate. I didn't time out at all, but there were a couple that I was happy I had a bit more time.
There you go. Yeah, I bet. And how did you do at the regionals in Pennsylvania? For those
I finished second at that match, and
nice.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised how well that match went as well. The first part of the day with the fishtailing headwinds was definitely a challenge. It was also the first time I'd ever shot a mover at that match. At the NRS finale, unfortunately, the mover went down, and I didn't get a chance to shoot it there. But it was definitely fun to shoot that.
Now, was there one stage that cost you that top first place finish, or there was no real?
There were, at the regional there were a couple stages I dropped a few points. There wasn't one in particular that was that cost me the match. At the CRPS match, there were a couple that came out pretty low. John and I were commiserating over a couple of our stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Well, that's
a lot
the
of
thing.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you're shooting matches, you don't try and focus on it, but then when you see your placing, that's when you kind of said, "Oh, what if?" Because I mean, I don't know what the gap was between first and second, but I imagine it wasn't a huge gap. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, after day one at the finale in Texas, Chris and I were tied for points,
oh,
and
nice.
I had scored one more impact than him on the tiebreaker stage,
Okay,
and
so you're up.
I was definitely nervous going into day two,
Yeah.
and dropped a couple of shots to Chris on the first stage, a couple more on the second stage.
Oh,
Heart was pounding, and the first stage jitters were kicking in full
yeah.
swing. So,
And you
um,
and you were squatted. You squatted with Chris.
yes, yeah, he shot.
Okay. Oh,
I think he shot one or two shooters before me. So
okay.
seeing him shoot and his score was playing in my mind for sure. So
That's all part of it.
trying to keep
That's all
the
part of it.
mental game strong and
Right.
focus on my match.
And did they re-squad you on day two based on day one performance?
No, same
Or you kept the
squads.
same squads? Okay,
Yeah, same
gotcha.
squads. Yeah.
Cool. John, we're gonna ask a question.
Yeah, I got lots of questions, but I don't want to derail the conversation if you got a
No,
plan you're going at right now.
we're just free floating here. Just kind of just picking the brain, seeing, if you had a Canadian, and well, first off, thanks for representing Canada so ably, Grant. It would have sucked if you sucked down there, and we'd never hear the end of it. So I'm glad you kicked ass and took names when you went down there. So
Yeah, me too.
say,
Thank you.
yeah. So congrats on the outstanding performance, and now you got a reason to go back next year to take the title.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
No, I
hopefully,
hope so. Yeah, hopefully some more Canadians can come down and shoot.
for
Uh,
sure.
as we
And
were
I'm,
saying before, they were shocked that Canadians shoot and can shoot pretty well. So be nice to get one of us down there. And
that's pretty good. Yeah, and I was joking earlier. Just wait till they see that our good shooters go down there.
Yeah.
You should have said all the good guys were shooting the finale, so they couldn't make it to hear it. That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool. And
So
did your dad make the trip with you down there?
Yeah. Both my folks actually
Oh, nice.
came down and made the trip. So nice to have some support down there. And there were actually quite a few spectators there as well. And it was also the first match that I had shot with dedicated ROs and spotters.
Nice.
So it was great just to be able to take that off my plate and just be on the binos and see what's going on
Nice.
and read the wind and just focus on the match. So that was a nice change.
That's always our dream and our hope that one day we'd have enough volunteers to get dedicated ROs and spotters.
Yeah,
I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but
it was an incredible turnout for volunteers down there, and folks that shot other shooting disciplines, like some 3-gun shooters were down there, spotting
Nice.
and scoring, and just a really great community of folks that came out from a variety of disciplines to help make the match run as smoothly as it did.
That's awesome. Did they have like a digital big leaderboard with your name up there and everything, or
No, they're not at that point yet, but maybe
okay,
someday.
soon. It can't be that far away.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if you want to give advice to any Canadians interested in going down there, was there a couple of things that jump out at you? Like, don't sweat it. It's just like any other match. It's not that hard, or
Yeah. It wasn't that different. Like the fundamentals are still the same. Sure, the targets were smaller, but the same skills still apply. And guys down there have the same challenges with switchy wind and same challenges with gear failures and ejections and all the same stuff that we see at matches here. And if anyone has the desire to go down and shoot down there, it was a very welcoming community. And they were thrilled to welcome me down there, and I'm sure if others went down there, they'd do the same. So would highly recommend it.
nice. And your placement down in the States is roughly similar to your typical placement up here, right? So
Yeah.
folks can expect that they'd end up roughly where they're shooting now. If they shot, I mean, maybe not the finale, but any other match, they'd be roughly in the same level of the pack that they are in now. Like
Mhm.
they're not twice as good as us down there.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
get
It was
intimidated.
definitely.
So
Yeah. I definitely felt like I stacked up comparably in terms of the rest of the field. So yeah, if you're shooting pretty well here and you go down there, you'll probably do well.
nice. So John, if you keep practicing, maybe you could get better and do better down there.
Yeah, just take a couple more of us, and then maybe we'd have taken all top 3.
There you go. Just bring a
That's
super
awesome.
squad of Canadians down there.
No, I because I like looking at points. I'll derail it now.
You got the hit rate.
What was the 83% was first place, and Grant
that's
was
pretty good.
78.5%.
Okay.
What was the name of the regional?
The Northeast Regional Finale.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question from Western Match Director Bryson Dodwell. Grant, what props, targets, stage layouts, etc., did you see down at the Texas match that you'd love to see MDs bring to our CRPS matches up here in Canada? Any fresh ideas for us?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones was the helicopter stage, and they had an actual helicopter carcass
I saw that.
set up on the range, and you had to climb into the pilot's seat, and they had the windows at the front knocked out. So I had the rifle up on the front of the helicopter. 5 shots in a troop line from probably 85 yards out to 300. 1 shot each target, and then transition to the back seat. So it was a 90-degree arc of fire difference between the troop line, and then transition over to the back seat to a KYL rack, hit or miss at 200 yards. So lots of movement, confined space, big arc of fire, very different engagements in the 2 sets of 5 shots. So that one was fun. What were some of the other interesting ones? They had some cars out in the range as well, and groundhogs sitting in the vehicle, and just some interesting things there. One of the most challenging stages in terms of wind, they had a corner of trees. So the first probably 100 yards was exposed. So there was wind probably 8 to 10 kilometers an hour in that first 100 yards. But beyond that, in the corner, the wind was basically dead. And almost everyone in my squad was confused by the wind, challenged by it, saw their trace, but didn't believe the bullet actually went there. It was just one of those stages where you don't believe the bullet. It doesn't make sense because you can feel the wind, you can see it, the grass is laying over. But just the shape of that corner of the range was a significant challenge for at least everybody in my squad.
Now, are you using Kestrel, Grant?
Yes.
What's your wind reading? Okay.
Yeah.
And what ballistic app are you using? Applied ballistics
using geoballistics. Yeah. Okay. So I just have a basic Kestrel for wind, temperature, density, that kind of thing, and then I plug that into geoballistics.
Okay.
So you'd be able to run their range cards.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you fill those out like the night before and have all your stages in there as a card, or do you fill out a card at each stage?
I just did it at each stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that at the championship too. Like I had been always doing it before, but it has got me messed up already. If yardage changes or anything like that.
Right.
But you may have never seen any yardage changes at this match.
I don't think there were. But yeah, there was a pretty significant temperature change between the morning and midday. It was somewhat cool in the morning, and it was up to 28, 30 degrees by 2 in the afternoon. So pretty big swing, and certainly different than what I was used to shooting, practicing before I went down there in the snow. So definitely had made sure to true up everything the day before the match and make sure the BC was correct. And I had gained about 15 feet per second going from here down there with the temperature change, and so was able to get all that trued up the day before, and everything worked out.
Did they have a sight-in day the day before?
Yes, yeah, there was. They had the zero range, and it was open during the whole match. There were a lot of guys that had to re-zero. They were having issues during the match. And then the open range day, they had props set up and targets set up. I didn't know what targets corresponded to which prop, but was able to run one of the troop lines and confirm all my data the day before.
Nice. So you were feeling good going into day one?
Yeah, definitely.
No equipment issues. Everything was performing as expected.
Yeah, everything worked out. Nice. I had a little bit of my good lot of Ely team saved for the match, and it was nice and consistent and worked out perfectly.
Nice. You should have led with that, man. As a host, I should have asked you, given that CRPS is sponsored by Ely.
Yeah.
No broken scope rings this time?
What's that?
No broken scope rings this time?
No. Yeah, I'm really glad I shot the CRPS Eastern finale, because I was having some weird things downrange. Like I was having to hold left edge despite the fact that there was a right to left wind. I was half a mil high on the KYL at 200. So I took my rifle apart when I got home, and the front scope ring that I had cracked. So I really only had one scope ring holding on to the scope for that match. So fortunately, to diagnose that and get that squared away before the finale.
Good, yeah. Lucky you. Unlucky, but lucky you.
Yes.
Now, in terms of
gear, you were unable to shoot any of the early CRPS ones, so you were not really in the running in that series.
No, I didn't get my rifle put together until after some of the matches in Ontario were over in the spring and early summer. So yeah, that was the only one that lined up for me this year to shoot.
Yeah, because the first I remember you was here when you shot the NRS match. Was that the first NRS match you shot?
That was the second one.
Second.
Yeah, I shot the bean match in Caledonia.
Yeah, the one I had to leave early from. Yeah, because I didn't know who you were, and then this Grant guy took first. Like, who is this guy?
Out of nowhere.
How can he just come out of the blue and take first? Like, something's wrong here. And,
I guess you don't know the series etiquette, Grant. You can't win your first match. You gotta show up and second. Oh, that's okay then.
He did.
That's okay then.
So then,
that's good.
So I just hit up Facebook there, see if I could find this guy, and took a little bit, but we figured out who he was.
Not creepy at all, Grant. Not creepy at all.
No,
he wasn't on any leaderboards anywhere. He just came out of the blue and took first. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I knew we'd have some competition.
Just what we need, right, John? More competition.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like I think that's a big thing that appeals to me going south, because somehow in my mind I assumed they were better shooters down there. It'd keep that level of competition higher. And so seeing when Grant went down, I kind of started looking at points and stuff like that to compare. And I have a bit of an idea how I stack up against Grant. I mean, it's not supposed to compare ourselves, right? But it's unfortunate that he had that broken ring, because it doesn't really prove that I'm better than him.
You got all of next year, John. Match after match after match.
I just I don't know what direction I'm going to go with this, but the one thing I've really noticed with shooting with you, Grant, is you appear to stay quite calm. And what's on the inside isn't always on the outside. But I think you have a lot of potential competing because of your personality, and it's going to hold you in good stead dealing with, well, and like you mentioned, the second day down there in Texas, here you are tied for first, like that pressure, right?
Yeah.
And I think anyone's going to feel it. Like, I'm sure Chris even felt it, right? Although he has more experience with it.
He told me the second day that he had no idea where he stacked up. He didn't know that we were tied. He said he never looks at scores. So he just went into day two, no idea where he ended up. And I considered not looking at the scores as well. But if I did well, I didn't want somebody to come up to me 5 minutes before I shoot the first stage and say, "Hey, you did so well yesterday."
Yeah.
I would rather deal with my nerves and get over that the night before as opposed to on the firing line day of. But interesting that he seemed pretty unfazed. And I mean, Chris is a phenomenal shooter, been shooting for years, and he was just so consistent the entire match. And that just comes with experience and practice and shooting at that extreme high level for a long time.
Yeah.
So he must have been a center fire shooter before, or also at the same time.
I think he primarily does small bore shooting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think he started when he was in high school. But yeah, he's been shooting 22 for a long time and competing at this level for a while.
Mm-hmm. No, to be able to place second, and in the regionals, you tied with him second, third. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. He is no slouch, and his track record proves that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No, certainly bodes well for us when the border finally reopens and travel normalizes and we can get back down there again.
Yeah.
Gonna go down south and steal podium finishes. That's awesome. Was there a lot of gear difference down there?
Yeah. Some of the guys were asking about the border. Yeah. So I've traveled over with rifles 3 times now. And I was saying to Rick earlier that it's been a different experience each time. Fortunately, I'm an American citizen as well, so it does streamline the border process a little bit. But I've had everything from welcome, good luck at the match, to we want to see everything, see the paperwork. So if anyone does want to travel down there, just make sure that the rifle and ammo are separate, locked up. The ATF Form 6, get that filled out in advance. Typically takes a couple of months to process, and if you have that, you should be good to go. I found that it's typically more challenging coming back in to Canada with your rifle than it is to go across the border.
Now, since I would have gone down there, it was a different system than what it is now. Is your Form 6 only for a specific trip? Or do you have Form 6 that's good for a duration of time?
Yeah, I've only done it for a specific trip, but I believe it's valid for 12 months. They do request that you provide confirmation of entrance in an event, so they know where you're going and that you've actually entered it for a competition. So I'm not sure how it applies for 12 months if you apply specifically for a competition.
Right.
But the turnaround has typically been pretty good that you can get it in advance.
Yeah.
We used to do a lot of cross-border with a lot of different firearms. So I had one Form 6 with 12 rifles and pistols on it and all the ammo that I would ever think about bringing, hand-loaded. And then just at the border, you say, well, I'm only bringing these 3, firearms across this time. So it wasn't really a big deal. I mean, you'd email them and then email it back to you. They might have a couple of questions on sometimes different firearms are classified differently. So like up here, a Rossi Ranch Hand is a rifle, but in the States it's a pistol. So that was the only weird thing. And then all just hand loads were all declared. But if you were bringing factory, you had to declare the number of rounds you were bringing across, and the manufacturer. So that was the only real weird part. So
they're typically pretty good and understanding if you filled in something incorrectly, or I found they're typically pretty good to work with.
The thing is, you got to remember, you're an honest person going down there to do an honest thing. You got nothing to hide and nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't show up scared
and have a mistake on your paper than not say anything.
Yeah. Plus, they don't look at, but they don't look at the abnormal amounts of booze you're bringing in because they're too focused on the guns. That's good. Good. That's awesome.
So now,
go ahead, John.
We discussed about how the matches are smaller targets, closer distances. Do you prefer that type of a match versus like what we're seeing up here more with further, bigger?
Yeah, I like a bit of a mix because there's different challenges to each. Certainly, with 22, the wind's going to be a factor either way. Like some of the targets were so small at the finale, but they were also close. But you were still holding a decent amount of wind and holding off plate, even though the target was 90 yards away. I think a mix of both is good. Challenges for some of the smaller targets to get stable enough in the position and manage your breathing and trigger pull and the fundamentals to make an impact on the smaller target. And some of the longer range stuff can be a significant challenge with the wind. And it's one of the things that I've seen you excel at, John, is some of the really long range stuff and the NRS finale out to 400. It's a different kind of skill set that you have, and you've been highly successful on some of those stages. So I think different skills and having a mix of both creates a good challenging course of fire.
Because one thing I had wondered is, like, I don't know the bottom half, like how skilled were those guys, and if we were to take the finale and have it up here, because that was a collection of the top shooters from all the different regions, would it fail up here basically? A new shooter would just become discouraged. Like your mid-pack at that match, how good were they?
Mm-hmm.
Like, were those almost?
Yeah, I know there were definitely
a decent hit percentage, right?
There were definitely a lot of shooters, even really good pro shooters, that were pretty discouraged after day one. The wins were pretty tough, and there were a lot of challenging targets. There were a lot of guys grumbling about their hit percentage that day, and some guys had some pretty low scores on a couple of stages with gear issues or wind issues, or the bullet just got lost in the long grass behind the target, and they couldn't make a correction because it was overcast and couldn't see trace. So just different challenges depending on the day, and even some really good shooters were struggling, especially on day one.
Yeah,
I wonder how it stacks up to a quote unquote typical PRS Rimfire match. You know, is it typical of the normal match sizes, or I don't know if there are published guidelines for match directors, or is this above and beyond what you'd typically see, you know, as a qualifying match into the regionals? And then, you know, as I guess, were the regionals and the finale roughly the same level of difficulty in your mind, Grant?
I think the targets were a bit more generous at the regional finale.
Okay.
The Northeast regional match director, Greg Stewart, I shot in the same squad as him at the Northeast regional, and then we were chatting again at the finale, and he said that in terms of his perspective, and he was the one that created the course of fire for the regional finale, he definitely felt like the finale in Texas was more challenging. The target size relative to wind was more challenging.
As it should be.
As it should be for the national finale.
Yeah. You don't want anyone cleaning stages left or right, and 80 plus percentages getting close to that. You know, getting 90s in a finale would be upsetting to a match director.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were definitely not many cleans at the match. I think day one, I cleaned 4 stages. Day 2, I didn't clean anything. Chris cleaned a few more than I did, but there were not many stellar runs.
Yeah, it's usually not the cleans that win the matches; it's the lack
Yeah.
of flops.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
consistency across the 20 stages.
So basically, the feel I'm getting is, to the guys down there, even like this was a tough match. So it's obviously a step more difficult than their average matches.
Yeah, based on what guys were saying, it sounded like it was more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I was kind of looking around. They're saying 1, 2, 3 MOA, and 200 yards. You start shooting a 2 MOA target. Like, you can't be sleeping.
Yeah.
No, for sure not.
Yeah. Need that 12 twist barrel.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, out to the 200 yards, that's not really going to matter. So I'm suspicious. Like, we had a 225, something close to 250, and a 300. Like, you didn't have many targets past 200.
Then, no, I think average target distance was about 150, 145, somewhere in there.
And then it's not really going to matter 16 versus, except that 10-inch plate at 300. Like, I definitely would be an advantage with the 12.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, I guess, did you hit it?
I did.
There you go.
So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I couldn't tell where on the plate I hit it, but the flash went off.
That's all that matters.
Oh, Bryson's got a question on seeing misses at that match. Did you have a lot of indicators you could go off of, or you're just who knows where it went?
Not much for stops. The first day was shot on a different range from the second day, and the second day was the dedicated 22 range, and it was a pretty, by range standards, fairly manicured area. So when you missed, you could see the impact on the ground. It would throw up enough dirt that you could tell which side of the target you were on. Day 1, though, it was long grass, and it was windy enough that the grass was already moving. So if you did hit a piece of grass, it wasn't going to cut it or make any kind of splash behind the target. So it was definitely a challenge to see the mirage and see the trace on day 1. Day 2 was definitely easier with seeing bullets splash, and some of the longer targets had berms behind them. I think there was some at 200, 250. There was a KYL at 200 that had a berm behind it, so a little bit more visibility on day 2. But day 1 was pretty tough to see.
Was there a lot of different gear that you saw down there, Grant, or is pretty much the same as what you saw up here? No one's got any different techniques or different tools they're using compared to up here, or were they?
No, not too much different. Most of the same smattering of gear. More guys with some really high end stuff. More tangent thetas and zero compromise and stuff like that. But usual kind of array of gear like we'd see here.
Okay. Same chassis, a lot of MDT down there, or
MDT,
more MP.
Foundation, KRG, the usual kind of mix.
Hey guys, I haven't seen any Foundation up here yet. Interesting to see them sometime.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd seen them in person, and they're beautiful stock.
Yeah.
I gotta look at that now. I'm not familiar with that.
Well, if you like stocks, then they might be right up your alley.
Yeah, a lot of guys that had the Foundation, they had a large weight off the front of the stock. So it must not. I don't know if it has tunability like some of the chassis systems, or if they just wanted to add a bit more weight up front.
It just might, Carlos? Yeah, I understand that they're actually quite heavy, and would make sense because the like they're compressed, so they'd be very dense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, your question about tripod use. Not a whole lot of tripod use. I didn't use one. The first stage on day 2, I wish I had have used one. Between my heartbeat, moving the reticle around from the stress of being tied with Chris Simmons, and we were shooting off of a stack of tires, tractor tires on the first stage that I was shooting on day 2. So there was a bit of bounce in the tire as well, and I should have used a tripod then, didn't, and dropped a couple of shots because of it. But overall, there wasn't a whole lot of tripod use.
And would it have been deploy on the clock?
Actually, it wasn't. You could, as long as all gear was in hand, so you could have it, have legs extended, have it deployed and ready to go. And
Right.
I think that was the game time decision that Prentice, the match director, made the morning of. I think initially it was going to be deploy on the clock, and then I think that changed last minute.
Great. Yeah. Really, the best way to experience it is just go do it, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So now, having shot 6 matches or whatever it is, you obviously had a bit of an idea what to expect coming in. And I assume you researched this style of shooting a little bit.
Yeah.
And now you've actually done it. What, like thinking now for next year, I mean, of course, you got Mammoth here you're dealing with. Is there things that you would train different, focus that you would, what would your focus be? Yeah, what have you learned, I guess?
Yeah, I think definitely my biggest focus going forward will be on wind. It's just you can never learn too much about wind. I feel like I've gotten to the point that I can build positions efficiently and solid positions, and I do a lot of dry fire. I've got the I can't remember the name of it, but the lens that goes in the front of the scope, so I can dry fire in my basement, so I can practice position building, managing time to run mock stages, doing dry fire, that kind of thing. But wind is definitely the biggest factor, and just getting out in very windy conditions like John likes to do with 35k winds or whatever it was the other day.
32 mile an hour, yeah.
32 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And just shoot more in the wind and make corrections and read where the bullet's going. Just can never have enough practice doing that.
Right.
So does that mean likely a razor on the 22?
Yes. Yeah, I did use the razor on the 22 for the finale, and the better glass stepping up from the Strike Eagle definitely helped seeing the trace. So next year it'll still be on the 22.
Yeah, or maybe a Gen 3, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they come out with.
Yeah. So another, you basically come away with similar is what I did after my first season. Like, in a sense, the building the positions and the actual shooting is fairly easy. And then
it's certainly something that you can train for, and a kneeling position is going to be relatively similar whether you're shooting here, you're shooting in Texas, it's cold, it's hot, whatever the conditions are. Once you have those fundamentals, that's relatively constant across matches. But the wind is the big variable.
Yeah. And the mental game, which is going to be different for all of us. But that thing about knowing now you can do this, you're never going to get away from that pressure. So you are always going to have a mental game now.
Yeah, for sure.
Or not care. And not caring, that's not an option.
Yeah. Like
it's a different mental game.
I enjoy the competition and want to push myself and want to improve and want to be better. So I'm always going to have the highest expectations for myself versus what anyone else, their expectations might be of me. So I'll certainly continue to push myself and have to manage my own personal pressure more than anything else.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the Texas their sight-in day. Did you have to change your base BC at all, or
No,
the velocity and you're good to roll? Yeah.
just the velocity.
Yep.
Yeah, with the Ely team, I was running 0.15 when I checked everything here. When it was probably -2, -3, went down there and it was 23 degrees, I think, when I got everything trued up and just changed the velocity. And BC was bang on at 0.15 all the way up to 300.
Yeah. And are you using the variation for temperature?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so you're just putting in a velocity based at whatever temperature you expect for the match.
Yeah. I found that typically within the match, I wouldn't see much of a velocity change. And I know you mentioned before that you found Ely to be very consistent with temperature changes. It may change a little bit, but I've never found it to be enough that I'm off target or not hitting where I want to be.
Yeah. If you'd be a tenth off, you start talking targets that are 3/10 or something like that, it would start to show up. But
yeah. See, Dan's asking about any of the gear. I was really happy with how everything performed. There were a couple of guys that were struggling with extractions and had to deploy the knife to pull a case out of the chamber. Since I upgraded to the Gen 2 extractor in the Rimex, it's been running flawlessly. But there were certainly guys that had some gear issues that cost them points, and of course gets your heart rate up, and then you start rushing through the last part of the stage. So having all that squared away definitely takes some of the mental pressure out of it, that the round's going to extract and you don't have to deal with any of that on the clock.
Right. It's pretty good. Using a standard pump pillow game changer combo, or
I don't have a pump pillow. I've got the pint size game changer and the Schmedium, both with a heavy fill, and they're rock solid.
Nice. And hey, Mark, Grant was using Ely Team. Is that right, Grant?
Ely Team, yes.
Ely Team.
Yeah.
Which is the cull version out of match. So it is the same bullet as your 10x match. Yep.
Rob's asking a question on which model for BC.
Which model? What was that? I'm just gonna check my app here. So it was G1 Army, and I had it trued at 0.15.
You sure you have a 16 twist?
Yeah. What are you thinking?
It's too high.
Well, it lines up, so I'll take it.
It seems to be working though, John.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with people that are doing okay with it.
Oh, it's still fun though. Trust me, Rick.
I know.
Okay, just disregard me for a little bit here.
John's spiraling into the black hole of data.
Yeah. Nothing more.
Yeah, so that was a 1 in 16 twist, 20-inch IBI barrel.
Kelfie 4.
Yeah. Yeah, when I've shot SK long range, it trues out at 0.12, 0.13, something like that. So it's definitely lower.
Yeah. Usually, for me, like if I'm trading to 300 yards with SK or Lapua with G1, be 0.13 to 0.132. So that
What
makes
beast? What beast are you using for match, John?
Oh, it's hang tight. I don't use G1, so I'm converting now.
Mark's asking about the Ely range. Yeah, so 10x and then anything that doesn't qualify as 10x, or if they don't need to sell it all as 10x, they sell it as match. Anything that doesn't meet the accuracy and consistency standards for match is then sold as team. So I was able to find a lot of team that actually shot better than some of the match that I had tried. So I got a few thousand rounds of that. But it's the same, made on the same machine, same bullet, same everything. It's just how they grade the different categories of rounds.
I use .152.
For your Ely, the match?
Yeah. At least that's on that lot. But yeah, it'll be. Let me pull up the other. I do way too much of this, and now I got multiple profiles for the same gun to just kind of keep some stuff kind of straight. But
Well, so far you're still able to do it, John. So you haven't overloaded yourself.
yeah, we're still low level functioning. Yeah, so that in the .15s somewhere. Some of them are higher. But
yeah, I'm surprised that mine trues out to pretty much the same BC as yours if you're running the 12 twist.
Yeah, so if the lot of ammo that I'm using actually trued out lower than what I typically would have seen. So, okay, I can't multitask, so I'll shut up.
You're pretty good at multitasking, John. You're in the construction business.
There we
That's
go.
all you do. That's all you do is multitask, man. So Dan was asking if I think you answered this. Are you going to put the Strike Eagle on your 6 Creed, or are you just going to keep swapping the Razor between the two?
I'll swap the Razor between the two. Yeah, I've got it on the rifle for Mammoth now. It's certainly heavy to be hauling for 35 miles over 2.5 days, but the clarity is just a little bit better. So I'll take that and be able to see my misses.
Nice. Are you changing your gear? I'll just drifting onto Mammoth because it applies to our 2-day Sniper Series matches out here. Are you changing anything in your gear for Mammoth, or are you just training yourself to just hump it with all that gear?
So I am lightening up some of my gear from last year. So I was the primary shooter last year, and primary shooter can run any cartridge as long as it's not on a Magnum bolt face. And secondary shooter at Mammoth, it's my partner. He'll be shooting secondary, and that's either 223 or 308. So we both shot 308 last year. So I'm cutting probably 1.5 pounds of ammo weight simply by changing the 6 Creed as opposed to 308. Lower recoil, much better ballistics. So a win all around, and carbon barrel this year for the 6 Creed. So that will shave about 1.5 pounds off. And then put it in a stock instead of the ACC. So cut about 0.5 pound there as well. Even with the 419 Arca rail on the front end. So definitely shaving off some pounds with the gear versus last year. Knees were pretty sore at the end of 3 days last year.
I bet. Now you must have been training for that all prior to that, right? You just can't just wake up one day and say I'm going to Mammoth.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. Lots of running and lifting and rucking and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Dan's asking about lightweight fill in the bag. So I did get a game changer, pint-sized game changer with the Get Light fill as well. So I think the heavy fill pint size is 7 pounds or something like that, 5 pounds.
That's crazy heavy.
For such a small bag, it's very heavy. The one with the Get Light fill is 1 pound.
Nice.
It's not as stable as the sand, but to save several pounds, definitely worth it.
Yeah. What barrel length did you go with on that 6 Creed?
It is 26.
26. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm just planning my build. So I'm trying to get input now.
No,
So
I've been really happy with this setup, especially coming from a 308. This thing's just so easy to shoot and an absolute laser beam by comparison.
Right. Pretty sweet. Sorry, John.
I'd be 2 to 3% more, like better BC than what you get. And I've seen that with Ely Contact as well. 16 versus 12, I'm running in that 2% range. With SK though, I'm running in the 10% range.
10%. Wow.
Yeah. So there must be something about Ely's not just blowing smoke. They know what they're doing when they're designing their bullets for where the center of pressure is, whatever it's called. Because obviously they are very stable with the 16.
Right.
That also means that, this thing about flat nose bullets, they fly pretty good. And everyone assumes that 10x is no good. Yeah, I've heard guys say you can't use the 10x if there's a head or tailwind because the wind pushes them around so much. I just got to chuckle to myself a little bit, but they actually have a better BC than LePoix.
That's like the 308 transonic wall.
Yeah. Anyhow, figured I'd finish that. Just
you'd close that chapter, John, so you can.
We'll try. It's hard, but we'll try, Rick.
That's awesome.
John, speaking of 22 bullets, have you ever thought of reloading your own? Have you looked into that at all?
I can't say it hasn't crossed my mind.
Well, for ELR, going for a king of 0.22 miles, that would be worth it, right? Like if you're going out to 700 yards, that's definitely up there as things you got to look at, right? Because it will make a difference for sure.
If you follow the guys that have been playing with this a lot longer than most of us knew about such a thing, then what you find is it's extremely finicky.
Oh yeah. I
am not a finicky reloader. So, like for me, if I reload, it's the 90% bang crash. Let's get this done. Let's go shooting. So I'm not willing to sit there and mess around about 1/100th of a grain of powder. If a load has to be that, if I have to worry about 1/10th of a grain, it's not a good load in my mind. I look for something that's very stable.
So you won't be reloading morning of the match then at the stage side. There you are cranking them out in your trailer.
Yeah, on a progressive.
There you go, like a Mark 7, automated Mark 7.
So I don't think it would actually suit me. Like the reloading, like I like the idea and everything, and I think you'd be able to do a lot of amazing stuff. But I'm not sure I'm the guy for it, simply because I wouldn't have the patience. But.
I mean, there's a lot of variables, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's a whole new world that you got to look at now, and that's a lot of rounds downrange to pick a process and develop a methodology that's gonna make you feel comfortable that you're doing it right. Because I mean, there's not that many people shooting, past 500 consistently, right? And for ELR, that's where it starts to get exciting. 300, 400, we're already doing that now. But once you get past 5, 6 into 7, then we'll see some different thoughts come into play. I'm hoping over the next little while.
To be super successful at 600 and 700, I think reloading is going to be the only way.
Yeah.
Unless the league surprises us.
Yeah, there's going to be these guys like Nick to just show up and with their Savage Mark 2s or CZ 455s running CCI standard velocity and just kicking people's butts.
we'll see about the CCI part.
Yeah. Dan's got a question. What brake are you running? 4-port or 5-port?
So I've got the APA Fat Bastard on this one,
Okay.
which might be a little
The
overkill
classic.
for 6 Creed, but it doesn't move.
The classic.
Yeah, I think I only have a 3-port on mine, and then you watch the these guys with their scope cam, and it's like that's what my 22 does. It's like recoil, what recoil? So I gotta try a good brake someday, I guess.
Yeah, it makes a difference. This one's loud, but for
Yeah.
recoil mitigation, it's awesome.
It's no fun being beside anybody shooting that brake.
No.
Well, I honestly question, like, really, how much does a brake help? Like, you're shooting a heavy rifle anyway. And because I'm coming from hunting, in my mind, shooting a 6mm, there is no recoil to begin with. So, who needs a brake? Well, you know, I shot PRS style stages in practice around here with no brake. But that was pre-competing. So I didn't understand. So I went and bought one of those clamp-on brakes just to try it out to see, like, is there really a difference? It's like, wow, I couldn't believe the difference. So I thought that was pretty amazing. And fast forward, now I watched a scope cam video with these guys with these, you know, good 4- and 5-port real brakes. I think I'd be surprised all over again.
Yeah, it's
especially
definitely.
your rifle's not even that heavy.
What's that?
Especially because, like, your rifle's not even that heavy.
Yeah, all in bipod, 2 magazines. This setup's right at 16 pounds.
Yeah.
So if I were using this 6 Creed for a PRS setup, it'd probably be 22, 25 pounds, somewhere in that range to be in the ballpark with what the top center fire guys are doing or more.
Yeah.
And then it really wouldn't move.
So how heavy are you running the Rimex?
Setup for the Finale with the Razor was at 22 pounds.
Okay, so you're same as what I am then.
Max loadout.
Yeah.
All internal weights, 4 externals.
Well, and I have an MTU contour barrel on the Rimex, so it is substantial.
Yeah.
So the barrel you have on your 6 here, is it with the barrel nut, or did you get it shoulder?
Yeah, it has the barrel nut on it.
All right, yeah, I kind of see it there under that good Canadian maple leaf.
Yep. Yeah, so I run the 308 full steel barrel with the barrel nut, and then swap it out for the carbon 6 Creed for Mammoth.
Okay, so you still, like, the 308 was not a factory 308 barrel. You're running an IBI already.
Yes, yeah, I took the factory barrel off. Yeah. Gotcha. And then that one actually had spaced perfectly with my buddy's rifle, so was able to get him a 5R barrel on his factory 700. That had spaced out perfectly, so was able to reuse that one.
Yeah. Does he reload as well?
I reload for him.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're the best buddy in the world, Grant. Nice.
I find it therapeutic.
Yeah.
John, you strike me as the kind of guy that would reload for a buddy. You do it for a buddy.
I got dice here for a couple of guys, yes.
There you go. So you're that kind of guy, John.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah. I reload for my brother, so.
Yeah. No, it does really make a difference. But for if you're only going to shoot, 1,000 rounds a year, it's not worth setting up yourself.
Yeah.
Or I don't think so, anyway. Not cost-wise.
What's the barrel life on that 6 Creed, Grant? How many rounds?
We'll find out. I think based on what I've seen for competition, a lot of guys are pulling them around 12, 1400.
Yeah.
I think if you're less concerned, you can push it up to maybe 2000.
Okay.
But I think most guys pull them 1200, 1400, somewhere around there.
Yeah. It's like the 647 Lapuas. Same.
Yeah.
How fast are you running that? Over 3,000?
Yeah. I'll be testing 2 final loads probably this coming weekend. One at 3045, the other at 3095.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's with the 110s.
That's with 108 ELDs. Yeah, I tried the 110s, and they would shoot phenomenally well one day, and then the group size would be 1.5 inches at 100 the next day. Just couldn't get the consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a 7.5 twist.
Okay.
Just probably on the edge for the 110s.
Great. Does Ryan do faster than a 7.5?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Can't remember mine 7.5 or 7.25. I don't have an IBI, but because I shoot the 115s. But I have heard that the 110s are finicky.
Yeah. The BC is phenomenal on them. And when I was shooting out at 700 with them, it was just crazy flat, but just inconsistent. So I'll take a lower BC and have consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Consistent, it wins every day.
For sure. Dan's asking how I found H4350. I was very lucky to get an 8-pound jug.
Nice. You got to know people.
The key is to buy powder before you run out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I bought that jug of powder probably 8 months ago because I figured things were going to get even crazier. So I've been sitting on it for a while.
Yeah, my big goal was to be able to run like H1000 or 4831 because I wanted to run a slow. So I have the 6 SLRs. It'd be very similar to the Creedmoor. And my idea was to run a slow powder, not push it. But I simply couldn't get it to shoot. So I ended up having to run 4350 anyway. But it's extremely consistent with 4350.
Yeah, that's what I found too. Really consistent. What velocity are you running with the 115s?
2920 is my most consistent. I can run them up 32. She's getting pretty hot if I get too close to 33. But
holy cow,
that wasn't my goal. I pushed it. I want to see what could I actually do. Yeah, I can easily get a 3200. That's not an issue.
Nice.
But
nice.
The consistency was in the low 29s. Now I am actually considering. I want to see if I can find something down in the 28s. I'm really curious, and maybe try some of this slow powder again. But I wonder if I'm going to really lose consistency running a light load of slow powder. I don't see it working, but I'm just whatever.
Yeah,
I got 1,300 rounds in the barrel now. Who cares? Right?
Yeah, that barrel's gone now.
That's what they say. It shoots as good as it did day one. So
until it doesn't.
Yeah, until it doesn't. We'll find out.
That's it. I know. That's where the fun is.
Yeah, but I'm not going to rebarrel this one. Like, it's a Savage. So, We'll see. Like I said, I got some empty ACC, so.
Yeah. That's it. John, you're the only guy I know that buys chassis just in case. It's a good way to make sure you get another rifles by buying chassis, I guess.
Yeah, I buy scopes just in case too.
Yeah, you should stop cornering the market on those ZP5s, man.
Yeah. Good. Did you ever try the burgers?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
No, I shot the 168 hybrids in the 308. and they've done really well. But haven't tried any burgers in the Sixth Creed. Was hoping I could find some of the 109 long range, but I haven't been able to find any.
Yeah. Hmm.
Who owns Burger?
We'll have to come down and smash some stuff.
Is that the Namo group that owns Burger? The Cascade Lapua guys? Let me just double check.
I'm not sure, actually.
Check.
I think they're part of the same group for distribution in North America, but I'm not sure if they're owned by the same company.
I didn't get what Rick's question was.
Who owns Burger now?
Isn't it Keystone?
I'm not sure. It's part of the Namo group. Lapua, SK, Vitavori, and Burger.
Capstone, yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
So that'd be cool.
I didn't. Was that?
That'd be a good group to work for. They sell big bullets and they sell little bullets.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff in that portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. Even shoulder-fired systems. Anyway, now I'm getting lost in the internet rabbit hole. That's awesome. So plans for next year, Grant? Regional and finals again for PRS. Is that a stated goal for you again?
Well, I'll probably be dialing back a little bit on 22 next year. Probably won't be able to make the time for that. I just accepted a seat to start my MBA in March next year. So be heading back to school in London at Ivy. So hopefully still make it out to a few matches, but definitely not as many and certainly not as much practice time as I've had this past year. So that'll be about a 1-year program. So after that, I'll definitely be back into it full swing.
So we got a year to get better than you, Grant, or at least try and catch up. How about that? That's a lofty goal. So thanks for giving us a year. We appreciate it.
I think you'll find that you will not need excessive practice to
maintain.
Yeah, because you've developed the fundamentals now. You've developed your processes. It's just to keep them alive now.
Yeah,
and that takes far less. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to practice wind, just keep shooting at Warren Field. It's got the weirdest winds in Canada. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, the first match that I shot, the ORPS match, it was at the far end at Warren Field, and I think during that match I was holding a mill of wind at 75 yards and making impact. So that it was quite welcome into 22.
Yeah,
but Warren Field, the winds are wild.
Yeah, like KYL racks are just impossible.
Yeah,
it's like forget it. It's unnerving when you have to hold on to the plate to the right to hit the plate to the left. It's just something wrong with that picture. That's awesome. Well, good. Well, you've made the most of your year at Rimfire, Grant. That's awesome to see that kind of progress, and that just speaks to kind of the dedication, the practice you put in, and kind of getting not distracted by gear, but just focusing on fundamentals and all the software that you had to learn, like wind reading and obviously stage prep and execution. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone is still going to keep working on that. So,
yeah.
Oh, Rob had a good on that topic. Rob was wondering how often were you practicing training this year? What was your
probably
routine like?
Probably shooting once, max twice a week. Probably twice on match weeks. Like I go out and confirm zero and true data and that kind of thing. and then shoot
Right.
the match on the weekend. A lot of dry fire practice as well, but mostly just once a week.
Right. Awesome.
It takes a lot of dedication and work to do it more than once a week.
Yeah, pretty tough to find the time and justify that
Yeah.
much time.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have a job.
Yeah.
See, my best year was when I was training for nationals. Was the indoor range was 5 minutes from my office, so I'd be able to go there for lunch for half an hour, shoot rifle and pistol, and then on the way home stop for half an hour to an hour. I miss that office, and I miss that range. So now the closest range is like 45 minutes to an hour away, and that's just can't get out. Just can't make it happen. I'm not making it happen. So
Sure.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. How close is your range, Grant, to you?
I've got a range about 15 minutes away.
Nice.
So if I'm doing load development or swapping out parts and just checking gear, I'll go there.
Nice.
That goes out to 200, and then Buddy's Farm about 40 minutes away, 45 minutes away. Most of the time have range out to about 300, and then now that the corn's off, I can get out to 950.
Nice.
At his place. So
that's very handy.
yes. Yeah.
All our poor city slickers are just envious of the opportunity you guys just have, just lying around.
Not quite as convenient as John's out his back door, but
no,
pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I don't even want to go there.
Someday.
Maybe someday. It's all a question of choices, right, John? Anyone can make that choice. So, yeah, it's awesome. Good. Any other questions, John? We're at 10 hour and a half. You just keep going on and on. That's good. It's been it was good meeting this year, Grant. I'm glad we finally connected. Because I was watching this. Who's that guy who shot Pennsylvania and medaled? I said, never heard of him. So I was curious. That was good. It was nice meeting you. Nice meeting your father too.
Yeah.
Awesome
Great to meet you, and appreciate the support that you guys have for the sport. I think that's been my most pleasant surprise getting into this is the community and the shooters, organizers, sponsors. The support that this sport has is incredible, and can see why it's growing so quickly with the kind of folks that are involved in this.
Yeah, that's our pay, is getting to hang out with guys like you on our weekends.
Absolutely.
And guys like John too, I guess.
On a good day.
On a good day. That's it. Awesome. Any shout outs, Grant?
Thanks to my fiance Kaylin for tolerating all the weekends away and all the travel, and to my parents for their support and encouragement, and to all the guys in the CRPS and NRS. Appreciate the support this year and the warm welcome, and look forward to many matches ahead.
That's it. Awesome. Good. John, any shout outs? Same stuff.
Not sure.
There's so many to thank, John. There's so many to thank, right? Awesome.
Yeah, I got a shout out. Marlon Brubaker. I think he's listening. He texted me and wondered if I ever smile. Just with the daughter around.
That's true. He smiles all the time, Marlon. Nice. And Grant, you'd entertain sponsorship opportunities if it came your way, right?
Yeah. A little complicated next year going back to school. Yeah. But, this is certainly something that I'm passionate about and want to do long term. So if there are opportunities for that, certainly open to a conversation.
Awesome. Good. Our thanks to Tesro.ca for sponsoring the Rimfire Nation podcast. All past episodes are available on our YouTube channel, Canadian Rimfire Precision Series, as well as all of your podcast sources. Thanks for joining us. See you all on the firing line. Thanks, Grant. Thanks, John. have a good school year next year, Grant.
Thank
Wishing
you.
you all the best, and we'll hope to see you at a match at some point down the road when you can free yourself from school, work, and life. So
Absolutely.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, John. Take it easy, guys.
Always.